It's the end of the summer of 2018. I remember sitting in my tiny bedroom studio working on my first music album. I was feeling defeated and completely hopeless. No matter what I did, my tracks sounded weak and amateur. I wasn't just frustrated, I felt like I was doing everything wrong. I felt like I would never sound like my favorite artist. But after years of trial and error, I realized that the number one reason my tracks sucked was bad sound selection. And it can be the difference between your tracks sounding like this, and like this. In this video, I'm going to teach you my 5-step sound selection system. It took me 10 years to master, but I'll teach you everything in just 30 minutes, so you can finally make your tracks sound unique and professional, just like your favorite artists. Let's get started. Alright, so let's start with the problem. Why you struggle with sound selection. You are making music without a clear direction and goal in mind. You want to create a track but never think what vibe you want. You never spend time on actually thinking through what you need to achieve the sounds you have in your mind. So let's take this example. So you want to buy a chocolate ice cream. Do you go and buy vanilla ice cream? No, because you want a chocolate one. So why not apply the same logic to music? So here is the process that I now use after 10 years of making music, after coaching dozens of clients. This really works. So number one, we always want to start with the big idea of the track. You want to have a reference because it gives you a direction where you can go with your track. Doesn't mean that you cannot, deviate from that as you start doing the track, but it's a good starting point. So number two, what style and vibe are you going for? So again, you pick a genre. Let's say that's going to be tech house, melodic techno for the track that you are making. Number three, what instruments do you want to use? Because that should be connected to the vibe that you are doing. Let's say I'm going for a dark, minimal tech house. So what instruments can I use for that? What is the main theme of the track? Is it the synth? Is it a vocal, chord progression, etc.? So think through that. And how does the structure of the track look like? So one motif throughout the whole track, like repetitive, hypnotic melody. Maybe you have like a very emotional chord progression, like really whatever, but you really want to get clear on what you are doing with the track, right? After you get clear on the vibe and the instruments you want to use in your track, this is the time to start analyzing the reference. Why? Because you can break down the individual elements and see how your favorite producer used it to create the vibe that you want to create for your track. So let's start with the baseline from the reference. We want to listen to the track first, and then I'll start breaking down. Right, so now I'm trying to describe it. It's a rolling bass line, it is deep and plucky, filter is closed, pretty loud, and it dominates the whole mix. It is the main rhythm in the track, and it has the 16th notes pulsation, like tuka 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 tuka, and the saw is the wavetable for the bass line. So let's go back and listen again. So I described it pretty well. So that's the main element for the track. Now let's talk about the drums. The drums are light and thin, not a lot of low frequencies. You want to focus on selecting samples with high pitch, straight rhythm, 16th notes pulsation, again the same rhythm, no prominent hi-hat, sounds more like a closed hi-hat. It also has rides with auto pan, which creates motion like left to right. Percussion supports the groove, snappy, punchy snare drum. So you want to be very specific and write it out because that's going to be your guideline. And this will help you to pick the right sounds, right? So let's now focus on the drums and really listen to the character and what I just said. So if you listen to the mix, the drums are put a bit more in the back as well. So that's also very important to analyze the sound design and the mix. Okay, so I described it pretty well. I think you got the vibe here. Let's do the leads right now. So leads, a bit percussive, FM sounds, short fill phrases every 4 to 8 bars. No main driving repetitive lead melody. Gives contrast to the bass due to different wavetable. So now let's listen to the leads, and then we'll listen to everything together so you can really understand what, like how the mix feels basically. Let's go from here. That's the percussive lead sound. Wow. The acid one here, again, it is short. So the leads are not dominating. The bass is the main thing in the track, right? So that's it. Now you have a couple of bullet points that you can use to create your track. So we don't have to copy 100%, but this is just like the foundation, the guideline, right? So now I'm gonna show you my track one more time. It is different, but I copied the vibe of the track. So let's listen from here. So some of the sounds are not from the reference, but I got it right. So now let's talk about the critical sound selection mistake that I was making for 10 years in a row, my clients are making, and pretty much every single music producer is making this mistake. So it is a silent inspiration and motivation killer, and it will change your music production process forever once you understand this. Do not try to copy or fully replicate your favorite artist and reference tracks. You never know what they did to get that sound. You will get close if you're good at music production, but you'll end up with a crappy version of the original track, like always. You'll never be another Avicii, but you can steal something from him to make your music more unique. So just use references like inspiration, like foundation to your music. So I was trying to illustrate my track and the reference track here visually, right? So in this example, let's say we took the kick, the bass, we took the lead sounds, we took the vocals, right? So the key elements are the same and you want to use them how you like. You don't need to be like another David Guetta. So same idea, but different implementation. And also, do not beat yourself up if in the beginning stages of the track, like it doesn't sound as good as the reference. It has to sound like you. That's the whole point of making music, right? So again, if you look at here, the key elements are the same. And if we compare my track with the reference, also consider that like it's a very raw demo, no reverbs, no like delays, no effects. So it might sound a little bit empty. And this is mine. Does my track sound worse? Not really. I would say it sounds good, even if you test on different systems. Let's say we're taking the in the club. Of course, yeah, it could be a little bit more polished, but as for the demo, I think it's good. So again, I just wanted to make my sound. What you want to do is start breaking down and reverse engineering music. This is a critical skill you have to train. It's like you train your ears to identify the elements, how they sound together, why they sound good, and so on, right? This is the exact reason you are struggling so much with sound selection. You're not analyzing and you're not training your ears enough, right? So if we take a look at this dessert, we have icing and then we have the filling, which is sort of like the main thing. It is the key ingredient, and then we have the something else as the foundation, right? So that's what you want to pay attention to. If you're struggling with sound selection and you want to learn how to turn your ideas into release-ready club tracks, I have a track from scratch program, which is 5 weeks. You'll find your signature sound, you'll finish music faster, and you'll learn the A to Z system to producing a high-quality track. So it is a raw and uncut process how I go from an idea to a finished song. So if you're interested, all the links are down below, and let's continue with the tutorial. All right, so let's say we identified the core idea, which was the rolling bass line. It's prominent and it's dominating the whole mix. The key concept with this is you want to leave the space for the main idea, the main element in the track. I broke down the reference tracks for you so you can see visually what is happening. So we have the rolling bass, we have the drums, and we have the leads. So the rolling bass is the main rhythm, and the drums, they also follow this rhythm, as you can see here. So let me go back to the project, and we're gonna start playing one by one, and you will really see how they start working together for one groove for this one rhythm. So let's say we do the open hat or like closed hat. Pretty cool. Then we add the shaker, and after we add the shaker, it does some magic to the track, like it glues everything together. So pay attention how the rhythm of the shaker is working together with the bass line. Then we do have the percussion. Again, this is not like 100% like in the reference, but it is the same idea, same concept. Then there's another one, but I'm not sure I'm going to be using it. It could make sense. I don't know. If you want to keep it, you can keep it, but the main thing is this. And then we have the... So this is it, right? So let's go back to the presentation. Rolling bass, and the drums, they are not trying to dominate the mix. They are not taking away from the main idea. And then we have the leads and we have the plugs. So they come in shorter phrases. So that's the key idea here. And let's play starting from the first one. So again, it goes well with the rhythm of the track. So I'm not trying to do it like, even like this, it sounds pretty good actually, but if we change it too much, it's just not gonna sound good. Like, keep it simple, keep it simple. So lead number one, then we have a few more, and they all come like little fillers on the addition, like icing on the cake, because the bass is the main ingredient in this track, at least like how I see that. Again, there's no like right or wrong, because it's your music, it's your track at the end of the day. So you can see how everything is centered around the bass line, okay? Now let's talk about why your sound selection doesn't work. So say that you're making a tech house track. This genre has a specific vibe. Your sound selection has to have a similar vibe too. So this is the first problem you have with sound selection. Your sounds just don't fit the vibe of the track. Again, analyze references and pay attention to what sounds they are using for this specific genre that you are interested in making. So if you look here, just not really fitting the track, and we can go back to that bad example that I had in the beginning and listen to it. So it's not like the sounds are bad by themselves, it's more like they just don't fit together, right? So if we take this one, like the bass alone is not bad. Just a mess. It could work with a different kick. So for example, we can go back to the previous kick. Like it is not bad, but something is just not the best bass line for this specific track, but I could 100% see how we could use this bass line in the different tracks. So again, just show you an example with a different kick. Again, you see, just it's not really fitting. So this is number one. So stylistically, it just doesn't work. So you want to make sure that you pay attention to the sound selection of the references. So one more thing about this, it is not only about the sounds themselves, but also about how your instruments sound all together. Every sound that you add to the track should fit the context of the song that you're making, right? So I just try to visually illustrate, like, leads and bass are from different genres, and then we can go here and just play everything for you. So I could make a track with each of those sounds, but yeah, it's just not really fitting. So this is the first problem with the sound selection. The second problem is the rhythm problem. When you start introducing new rhythms or melodic ideas, you may kill the main vibe of the track. So it is very easy to overdo so that it becomes too much, too many rhythms, too many instruments, elements, whatever, right? I'm not saying you can't have multiple ideas, like for the rhythm or leads, whatever, but they should complement each other. So let's break down one of the examples with percussion. So we have this driving bass, which just requires a lot of space in the mix, and it really wants to be in the center of your attention. So if we play this now, check it out. Just with, kick bass, it's fine, but it becomes messy. It's just not really sounding that good, especially when you listen in the club. So this sound, unfortunately, does not add any value to the mix. Another example that I want to show you with this is going to be this arpeggio. So stylistically, this sound is making sense in this track, but the pattern that it's playing is just not really that good. So check it out. You can see it's a different rhythm a little bit, even though like it's still playing like 16 notes. It's just... it just becomes too much, right? You can see it is fighting with the main idea of the track, which is not good, and we want to avoid that. Another example would be this as well. So it's a good sound, but not for this track. Like you can see the bass goes and this one's a and then it slows down, and it's just not cool for this track. This sound could go with a sustained bass line really well because it is not fighting in terms of the transients. There's no problem with that, right? So with the rhythms, it's very simple. Sometimes it's just like not really fitting. So keep it simple and focus on the main idea one more time. So number 3 is the space problem. You always have a limited amount of space in the mix. If you have a bass that takes a lot of space, like rhythmically and frequency wise, like in the reference and like the track idea that I recreated, there's not a lot of space left for other sounds. Be strategic about what sounds you add and when. This is more about arrangement, but it's still like one of the key concepts of the sound selection too. So our mix is looking a bit more like this compared to the mix, which could look like this. Again, listen to references and try to visually imagine it in your head to understand how other producers are doing it and what you could do for your track. So this is why we have to focus on the bass line more in the track. So we cannot put this sound, even just by making it a little bit shorter, it's still like, yeah, it could be just like space wise, it is not really... You can see it's not making any sense. But once we go back to the previous mix and the way that I did the arrangement, the sound selection, once again, just listen to the contrast and to the difference, how well the elements are positioned, and it is just complementing the bass line without taking away from it. This sound is a very good example how you can complement the main rhythm of the like bass line, or like whatever is the main element in your track. I love this. This is so cool, right? So you see, with the space, you just really have to like listen and see if you can actually put it. So exactly like I did with the percussion. So it's the rhythm and the space. So usually it is going to be like multiple problems at once with sound selection. So rhythm, space problem, and we have the last one, which is the frequency problem. And I'm going to show you some really good examples. So, and the last problem you have with your sound selection is the frequency problem. So if you mix dirty yellow, like on the left, with the light yellow, will that make a difference? Sure, but in a bad way, right? It's just gonna be a mess. And good tracks have contrast. You have to understand what frequencies and wave shapes you have in the track. When adding more sounds, arranging and layering instruments, you want to use sounds that are different from each other. For example, if you use two super saw leads or two square bass lines, they are going to mask each other without adding any value to the mix. And I'm going to show you a few examples here, right? So we have the main bass line, this one. It's already full, it's good. And then we have another one. So when I play them, does it make sense? Even though I cut the lows, yeah, and technically it should be okay. It just makes the whole mix a little bit muddier. And that's what is happening quite often with your projects when I work with clients. Layer different wavetables. That's the key, because again, why use two same colors when you can use something else, right? And then we can take this thing further. So let's say I want to stack a little bit more to show you how bad it can get. So we have this another sound, which is stylistically not really fitting, and in terms of the frequencies, again, multiple problems with sound selection, right? Just very muddy. This one is not making sense. Then I was doing this one, which is again, this one is I saw, and we have a saw in the bass line. It's just, the mix is just not hitting. So even though like rhythmically, yeah, it is maybe okay, it still doesn't sound very good. Then another example I want to show you. This is actually a pretty okay sound, like stylistically, but as you can hear, it just doesn't fit. It could be a fit for another track, so that's not really what we need. This sound, just to show you like possible options for this track, it's like 6 out of 10. Yes, it does fit, but again, in the context of this track, it is a little bit weak. Just not really hitting that well. Can we fine tune it? Maybe. You know, it's just not making any sense. And the last example for this lead sound, this sound is actually pretty cool, and I think it could work. Because the shape of this sound, it is more sustained, and it does not fight with the bass. The sound design is also not fighting with the bass line because it is not a saw. It is the combination of some sort of, yeah, distorted wavetable, sine, whatever, right? This one is pretty good. So this is cool, right? I want to show you just a few more examples of bad sounds for this track. So here's another one. I mean, I don't have to explain this one. It's just cringy, right? It's not for this genre. The shape is incorrect, and it's just not really fitting. Even though those are the same notes that I used for my lead. So the next one, again, fighting with the bass line a little bit, too low end heavy. Even if we cut it, I'm not really sure it's gonna be the... Nah, not really. Just, I think frequency-wise, style-wise, it is not fitting. Then we have a different one here. It's the same thing. This is more like melodic techno-ish kind of sound. Just not really fitting. This one is just weak. It's plucky and it's really not adding anything to the track. I actually had one sound which was pretty good, but it's still like 6, maybe 5 out of 10. So here are just a few examples of the sounds. And the last thing that I want to talk about is how to find the right sounds for your track. So as I said earlier, you need a reference. This will give you the vision for the track. And after that, you want to test a lot of sounds to find the ones that fit. Because most of the times what you do, you try like 2-3 sounds for the track and like, oh, sound selection is hard, sound design is hard, but you never try more. I can guarantee if you go through 20, 30, or even 50 presets, you'll find at least few that work very well with your track. And then you are training your brain to understand, oh, okay, so these are the types of sounds that I like with my music. Let me find more like these from this new sample packs, whatever. But you're not doing it, do you? So to visually illustrate, so sometimes the sound that you're looking for, it is in your library, but you need to go like, okay, like 5-10 sounds here, 5-10 here, 5-10 here, and then here, you're searching, and then you find this one, and finally, yay, we have the right sounds. So just to show you and illustrate, let's say, okay, we have this bass line, so what if we just, scroll through, we take this one, and we just duplicate it. I'm literally gonna keep all the processing and all the stuff just to show you how easy it is actually to find. This one is also not bad. Like, I'm not gonna say like it's 100% fit, but it's definitely not sounding bad. Okay, let's go to the next one. This one, not really. Not really. Okay, just as an example, right? Maybe it is not like a 100% fit, but it doesn't sound horrible. Could work. Like, I already found 2, like, in less than 5 minutes, right? So it just depends on how much time you actually spend on finding those right sounds. So it might not sound perfect, like out of the box, but if you fine tune it, maybe the filter, whatever. It's okay. It's pretty good. Not bad. Okay, and then. Okay, this one is pretty cool. And the same thing you have to do with your leads, with your drums. You just test a lot and that's it. And then you'll find the sounds that you like, you'll find the sounds that work for your music, and then you'll just train your brain, and sound selection will be very easy. So that's everything that you need to know about sound selection. And if you really follow the advice I give you in this video, very quickly you're gonna get to the point where your music sounds professional, you're finishing tracks fast, and you know exactly what sounds to pick for your tracks. And if you want to make this process faster and you want to work with me one-on-one, click the link in the description. You'll get to my website. You can book a call with me, and let's see if I can help you. So that's it for this video. I'll see you in the next one. Ciao.